What's up, everybody? It's Joe from JLib Games coming at you with another cool video, and today we're back in Westwood, and it's a very exciting episode because we actually get to go into the park finally. Yes, we had the entrance area on the last episode, and here on this episode we're going to be getting into the main street, kind of like the main square or whatever you want to call it. It's going to consist of some main buildings here, and this first one is actually kind of like more of a facade than anything. It's actually going to be the Westwood Motel, which is going to have a nice little Western theme to it. So that's what this first building is. This area is also going to consist of a gift shop, which is also kind of all Western-y themed. It's all going to be, themed properly. And of course, it's also going to have the saloon, which is also more of a facade than anything. It's not going to really have access to anything. And also a nice Western-y type restaurant. That is what has been planned out for this entrance area, and I already got plans for what the next episode is going to be, and maybe into possibly the first themed themed area, which I don't know what I mean by themed, because it's all going to be pretty much themed around the same way. But when I say themed area, I kind of mean more like the next area for the park, because they're going to be kind of like sections, kind of like there's going to be like a mining area and stuff like that. It all goes into the same 1890s theme that we're going for here. And yeah, this is going to be the motel right here. It's quite a simple square-ish kind of building, but I wanted to make sure there was enough detail to make it look a little more interesting and not so square-ish, if that makes sense, because it had a very square feeling to it, and adding the details, like this little balcony, just makes it look a little bit more nicer and stuff like that, to make it look not as bad. So so this entrance area is very symmetrical and square. Well, not symmetrical because it's different on each side, but it's very like straight paths and stuff like that. And that's just going to be for the entrance. After that, we're going to have the rounded paths everywhere all around the park and stuff like that. But for the entrance area and stuff, it's going to be this straight pathway. I didn't want to make the square too large. It was going to be kind of a smaller square, and that's kind of what I was kind of wanted to go for. It was a smaller kind of square entrance area. That way we have more room for like rides and attractions and other shops and facilities throughout the park. And I also want to make sure there's a lot of terrain that's going to be happening in this park as well. We're going to be doing a lot of terrain manipulation, or terraforming, whatever you want to call it, and stuff like that in this park. So there's going to be a lot of terraforming, not maybe here at the entrance so much, but as for the rest of the park, especially where a lot of the rides are going to be, there's going to be a lot of hills and mountainy type areas. And there's actually one coaster that I have planned out that's actually going to be a big terrain ride that is going to be really cool, and you're just going to have to wait to see what that's going to be. I can't wait to get to that section. Actually, that's going to be a really great section of the park, and probably one of my favorites that I'm looking forward to. And that terrain areas, that terrainy coaster is definitely going to be the RMC that I have planned for this park. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time on my coasters. It could take, 2 to 3 episodes a piece for each coaster, because they're going to be very heavily detailed. Each station is going to be heavily themed, and each ride is going to have a storyline behind it, which I will explain for each time we are building those rides. So as for this hotel, this entrance area for the hotel is going to be kind of, it was kind of distance away from the pathway, so I was like, what am I going to do? And I decided to go ahead and put some planners down, which I actually ended up changing it in the end, and I actually think I pulled up like a reference photo here, kind of give an idea of what these buildings are going to look like, because I think I was actually building the saloon next. Yes, the saloon actually will go next to the motel here, which is, very convenient for the hotel, because you have the saloon right next to it. Westwood is going to be a very small, kind of town to it, or feel to it, kind of this small westerny town. It's not meant to feel like a very large, city or large town rather, because it is kind of a, it was, if I kind of want to go into the explanation and storyline of this, little town that this is kind of based off of. So Westwood is more of a, I wouldn't say completely family friendly, but it's a family park, but it's more of a they're trying to make themselves get out there by adding some really crazy and awesome, attractions to their small town to want tourists to come around and check out their little town, and they want the town to build up and get bigger as it goes along, when it means they want to add more restaurants and just attract crazy stuff to attract more people to this little area of, that they have established, or the owners have established. It's kind of a difficult way to put it, but I don't know exactly a great way to explain the storyline to this park and stuff. I wanted to make sure it's kind of interesting in a way. Like, every part of this park needs to have like a storyline to it, because it is a theme park, and usually theme parks have a lot of story behind each ride, each restaurant, and each building. They all kind of have that feel to it, which is in my opinion really, really cool about theme parks. Is there's a story behind everything in the park, which is amazing. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this park, is make sure that everything has a story to it. And this is the Westwood Saloon. So this is one of the first buildings built in Westwood, to try and attract some people. And it's a quite large saloon. It's one of the larger saloons, I think, that I've seen anyways, for a Western type kind of theme to it. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to build this larger saloon for their town and stuff like that. And it was one of the first attractions, obviously, since it's at the front main square here, that they want people to notice right off the bat. There's a saloon, there's a motel right next to the saloon, and there's also a high quality restaurant, which is currently unnamed. I haven't come up with a clever name for it yet. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this side of the main street, and it's basically these two buildings. There might be a small building just to clear up that little spot right there, maybe like a stall or something, but for right now it is going to remain empty at the moment. So this side is kind of more of a facade type side to it. There's not much to it. It's kind of just for show. Now, if this park was real, I'm sure there would actually be a show in that saloon, but since you can't really do anything like that in Planet Coaster, it's just going to be more of a facade and all reality and stuff like that. So I want it to be real, but at the same time, it's not very real. And, with the Western-y type parks, you have to add a lot of just clutter around the area, just kind of like these wagons, barrels, and lots of different things to, just kind of theme it up, and it makes it look really interesting and good, I think, even though it's more clutter, but it kind of just details the stuff a lot better. Now, I feel like these buildings do need a little bit more detail, and I might add a little bit more detail in the future. And I've never been the greatest at, detailing my buildings, but I feel like I'm trying to get better and better each and every time. I wanted to try and make sure that every building kind of had a different look to it. For this building, I wanted to make sure it had kind of a different wood to it, or a different wood texture to it, so I made sure I used a different kind of wood for it. This is going to be kind of like the small gift shop at the entrance of the park, and it's kind of one of the smaller buildings and not going to be as much detailed and stuff like that, so it's kind of more of a simple kind of building. I didn't want to make it too small, but I didn't want to make it real big either, because right next to it is going to be this, really awesome restaurant. So I came into a couple of issues when doing this, because I wanted to make it a walk-in kind of building, and I kind of messed it up a little bit. And I'm not focusing on the insides of buildings in this park. because it would just take too much to render. So the insides of the buildings are going to be blank, just for at least for right now, because I'm not going to focus on the insides of the buildings. They're just going to have the walkway and the inside and stuff like that. It's going to be mostly focusing on exterior rather than the interior of all this. So I called this, just Western goods and stuff like that. I thought that would suit the name quite well, since it is just a memento, but I didn't want to have that like little moderny sign to it. So I'm going to probably replace most of the signs with like the westerny type signs and stuff like that, just to get make it feel a little bit more in theme, because I want to make sure everything in this park is in theme, and that's a very important aspect to it. So I realized that I was a little bit too close to the pathway here, and I was like, oh man, how is this going to work out with using the pathway and stuff? And that was one issue I did kind of brought up, and it did come up here in just a moment here, as you will see, of me like, all right, I got to connect it to there so it's actually accessible. So I was like, how am I going to get the pathway up there without it, looking weird and stuff like that? So I was like, well, I can't use that path and get rid of the railings, obviously. And I was like, well, let me use this kind of path, and okay, and it's going to have this awkward slant going through the deck, kind of, which was kind of interesting. And so I was like, okay, I'll just kind of try and go with it, make some railings, and just kind of see how it works out. So it ended up working out all right in the end, because I should have made the pathway to it at the beginning, because I did kind of mess up. I tried to mess around with this, trying to see if I couldn't change it at all, but I was a little bit too late, and I couldn't really change it to make it look a little bit better on the inside. But since it is on the inside, I didn't really care too much, since we're focusing on the exterior. So I was like, oh, it's on the inside, so I won't really worry about it too much. So the next building is actually going to be the kind of like the big building of all these, kind of, in a way. It's going to be the restaurant. So after making that mistake, I decided to build the pathway on the inside first, rather than had to deal with it afterwards. So I decided to do that, and then put in the actual stalls and restaurants. I don't know, some of these didn't actually connect to the pathway, which was kind of weird. So I just kind of put them in random spots, because we're not focusing on interior again, like I said. So I decided to put a couple stalls in there, and this is going to be one big, awesome, westerny kind of restaurant, because I wanted to make sure I had a restaurant right at the front, kind of a signature restaurant that will go with the theme real well. And and I decided to make these kind of like these back parts, because you can't have a restaurant without like a kitchen and stuff. So I made sure those little back parts and stuff were sticking out of the building, kind of to give it a little more of original look, or not original, but more of a better look to it and stuff like that. So this restaurant is going to be that westerny restaurant towards the front of the gate. It's not going to have, it doesn't have a name for it. I don't have a name for it yet so far, but at the moment, it did turn out quite well, I thought. This was actually one of probably the favorite building that I built on the square here, because it just had a, more of a different shape to it, and I kind of enjoyed that, and I thought that was actually really nice for it to have a different kind of shape to the building, which it just helps out overall to make it look more, not as square. Just square buildings are just kind of boring, and a lot of these buildings back in the day, were very square and stuff like that. But I want to make sure I have as much as, or kind of different looking as possible for each building and stuff like that. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It's kind of a hard thing to think about when I'm trying to say about that. So anyways, we're just gonna talk about this a little bit more. So this is the restaurant, the main restaurant of the park. This is gonna be the big restaurant of the park. There's gonna be some throughout the park, but this is gonna be the one at the front gate that everyone's gonna want to try, and it's gonna have great food. That's one thing, is that this park is supposed to have some fantastic food, some unique food, that you wouldn't see at other parks, because most parks have hot dogs, pizza, and stuff. I want to make sure this park has some unique stuff, but at the same time, you can only do with so much with the stalls. But in reality, if it was a real park, it would have some unique food that would attract more people, I think, because it would just be a little bit different, some unique food rather than just, of course you're gonna have hot dogs and pizza in these parks, but I also wanted to make sure this will have like a lot of unique stuff as well that just might not be what you might see in a regular amusement park or theme park, rather than just all that basic stuff. And it's going to be known for food and rides and attractions, and I want to make sure there's like some theaters in this park eventually as well. I want to add some theaters, so some people can go watch some shows. There will be some nice live entertainment around the park as well. Obviously I'm not going to do anything interior wise, but exterior will be where it's at, so kind of like a theater building and stuff. And I think that'll be actually work quite nicely in this kind of park. Again, we're very heavily inspired, by Soda City, Dollywood, kind of those kind of parks is what this genre of park is going to kind of go into. So it's going to have that western-y type theme to it, and it's going to have some similar rides and attractions and stuff like that. And I kind of explained that in the last video, heavily inspired by some of those parks, family-owned parks, and that's kind of what this is going to have a feel to. It's going to be kind of a smaller park, but it's going to be quite large for a family park. But it's going to, it's still going to be kind of smaller. It's not going to be like Cedar Point big or Magic Mountain big. It's going to be definitely smaller than that. But it's going to have a lot of great feel to it when you see the hills in the background and all the trees and stuff like that, and it's going to have a lot of foliage and stuff. That's I've been wanting to build a park like this for a long time, and I finally get to do it here in Planet Coaster in the final release of Planet Coaster, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. And then I realized I needed to decorate the back part of this entrance building for everything. I wanted to add these signs that said like "Thanks for visiting" or something like that, or "Come back again soon" or something like that. So I couldn't fit it all in one unless I posted like one of the large signs. So I just put it kind of like a very westerny thing to do. We just put on 2 different signs: "Thanks for visiting," and stuff like that. And then I felt like this big part was needed like a sign or something as well. So I just put another big Westwood sign right here. To kind of give it that feel like if you look back towards the entrance, you're going to get a great view of the main street and stuff like that. And then of course I had to find the appropriate coloring for this sign, which was kind of more modern, a modern look than I thought it would actually have to it. So so this is that entrance area, and then I decided to add some path elements like trash cans and benches to make sure that people had a place to sit and that there wasn't going to be litter all around in the park. So yeah, that's the main buildings I really had planned for this, and for this park, or for the entrance here. And we do get into a little bit of path work here in just a moment. And right here, as you can see, I wanted to create like a plaza little thing coming out of the main street here, the main square. And it's gonna have in the entrance, it's not gonna be a fountain, but more like kind of like I was very heavily inspired by like Silver Dollar City's square, where they have kind of like this gazebo type thing where there's where you can sit down and watch some live entertainment, and like a stage right there. And I'm thinking about putting something right there in that middle there. I think that is actually what I was gonna do. And I was definitely wanted to have like a bridge that went over a body of water, and that was definitely, this is what we're gonna be working on the next episode quite a bit. And that's about it for this park, or for this part. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Make sure you have a great day and an even cooler tomorrow, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.